Hello, everybody. Welcome to this webinar brought to you by CanTrade in collaboration with Wealthford International Berhad. Today, we are very excited to be doing this topic under CanTrade webinar that is titled Kenanga Telecommunication Sector Outlook from 4G and into 5G. So that is our title today. And before we begin, allow me to share a little bit about the Kenanga Humankind project, which is part of the Kenanga Group CSR. Now, for this Kenanga Humankind project, we want to urge all of you here to pledge a meal at 20 ringgit to children in need. For every meal that you pledge, Kenanga will match it meal for meal. Through this Kenanga Humankind project, we aim to raise 50,000 to feed children in need, and also to sustain employment opportunities for disabled employees at cafe include. So at least 2 persons will not have to go hungry, and it also serve to provide training and development to disabled employees at cafe includes. So if you want to contribute to this cause, you may scan the QR code at the bottom right corner, which is where my mouse is hovering at right now. So you may scan this QR code to pledge a meal at 20 ringgit, and Kenanga will match it meal for meal. All right. So that is a Kenanga Humankind project. And before we begin, just a short disclaimer is that whatever we share in this session is only for educational purpose. In no way that we give any recommendation for you to buy or sell any listed stocks that we mentioned here. If you decide to make any investment decisions, you're 100% responsible for all your investment risk. And today, we are going to talk about the telecommunication sector outlook. And the telecommunication sector has evolved drastically over the decades, right? We have the sector has evolved from 1G to 2G to 3G to 4G, and now we are entering the 5G era. So the DNB has been set up to facilitate the rollout of 5G. So today we are going to look into what the sector outlook like, what are the trends, what are the emerging trends, what are the opportunities, and what are the challenges ahead in this telco sector. So we have invited Mr. Ahmad Ramzani Ramli, who is a Vice President of Kenanga Research, to talk about this sector. So welcome to this session, Ramzani.
Thank you for
good to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me for this session, and
yes, you may
allowing me to present.
Yeah, do you want to pull up your webcam a bit? It looks like 10% of your webcam upper side is blocked.
Is that better?
Yes, fantastic.
Okay.
Now I will hand over the session to you. I may stop sharing my screen.
Yeah. Okay. So I can start now.
Yeah, you may share your screen.
Oh, it's not shared now. Is it shared now?
No, it is not shared yet.
Oh.
Because just now I took over the slide sharing. Yeah, so now you have to share it again.
Yes. So then it's there. All right.
There you go. We see it.
Thank you everyone for attending this session, and also like to thank CanTrade for inviting me and allowing me to share some of my views about the telecommunication sector, basically on 4G and into 5G. Okay, first of all, I'll just give you a brief history of the evolution from 1G to 5G. So as you can see from the screen, 1G started way back in the 1980s, where it was involving analog voice with speed of about 2 kilobytes and about more than 1 second latency. This, of course, as along the years, it went into from 2G, 3G, and basically by the 2010s, it came into 4G. So 2G helped the development of the digital voice with much more, much more lower latency. Then 3G was helped with the evolution of the mobile data, which of course shows again the latency became much more better or faster. Lower and faster. Then 5G and it came to about 16 millisecond with about 1 Gbps peak speed. Now, all this evolution it's helped because of the evolution of digital voice, help to revolutionize mobile data, and of course with 4G was the broadband. So you can see in some of the if you look at the trend, the rise of YouTube, TikTok, streaming, and all that was helped by because of the advancement of 4G. Now we're coming to the 5G, where it's the wireless age with speed of 20 Gbps peak speed and less than 1 millisecond of latency, faster. So 5G is all about consistency, addressing the latency. In the previous 4G, 3G latency is very difficult to achieve. So hopefully, what the innovators or the of 5G is hoping that latency will be much better, and streaming speed and everything will be much better and more clearer. So you might notice also some of the when here in Malaysia, when people talk about or the telco industry talking about upgrading 4G towers and all that. This is because with 4G itself, it helps with the development and rollout of 5G, or to help with the consistency. And also it's also to support in case of in future rollout of 5G, there are some difficulty. People can fall back into 4G internet in case of there is any difficulty or any disruption in 5G rollout coming in the near future. Now, I understand also from my discussion with MCMC and Huawei also, 5G actually is basically is also to address to involve into how do you say the Internet of Things, making expedite some of the enterprise in smart medical health, smart technology, or smart city and all that. But for people like you and me, the consumer and all that, you probably don't need 5G at the moment, because the real killer for the necessity for 5G for a consumer like you and me is yet to be invented. So basically, unless you are a real gamer or streaming at some packed concert or all, you probably at the end of it don't need 5G. 5G is more benefiting the enterprise in the future, especially for those who are especially when we are especially Malaysia is going into the I 4.0, where involve the smart of things to address business and to move into the digital economy.
Mr. Ramzani? Mr. Ramzani, are you here? We seems to have lost you. Okay, looks like our speaker has come back on the line. Yes. Are you able to unmute yourself?
Sorry. Okay.
Yes. Just now I think your line dropped off. You dropped off the line for a bit.
So I think so that's why we probably need 5G now.
Right.
Because my area, I think as you know, coverage of 5G is still not that fully here, even here in the Klang Valley. So probably my area is not that. Yes, Melvin, we do need 5G. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Are you able to pull up the slide again so we can carry on from
Sorry.
where we left off?
Okay, let's say a good example why we need 5G.
Yes. Yeah, it's spot on.
Yeah. So probably it's a sort of divine intervention to show, yes, we need 5G quickly. Okay, so as I was saying, this slide is basically to show the difference between 4G and 5G. Basically, yes, the 5G usage scenario is to be the enabler to the safer autonomous transportation, automatic driving, automatic taxi, reliable access to remote healthcare, precision agriculture, efficient use of energy and utilities, private network for logistics, enterprise control, and of course, sustainable smart cities. I think in Thailand itself, they have already developed a smart hospital somewhere in Phuket, if I'm not so sure. And I think Malaysia is planning to do one in Langkawi. If talking about private network and logistics, I'll just give you an example of Singapore itself, where apparently they are using that 5G for private for logistics for the shipping there, for monitoring the shipping over there at the ports. Now, in terms of how say efficient use of energy and utilities, I've not seen one, but I did see Huawei introduced to me, showed me a video of a manufacturing factory way back in China that shows, with a, which I think it's sort of I'm not so sure, it's whether some energy manufacturing, and of course they were using quite efficient, less people over there, and of course because much safer because that industry or manufacturing involves a lot of heat and energy coming out, so it's much safer to, and the people that was controlling the factory itself are way back in some ways safer and monitoring from afar so it was much safer and less workers involved, and of course that all involved because of 5G itself. Okay, so here just to show you what 4G and 5G is providing. If you look on the left-hand corner where it is much more, the white one, it shows what 4G is available and can be used, while the one in the gray corner is basically what 5G is offering: autonomous driving, virtual reality, and augmented reality. So you can see in terms of 4G itself, in terms of real-time gaming, personal car video streaming that we have now, so 4G is available and it can be used and with 4G itself. So that's why I'm saying that, basically, the ordinary consumer like you and I probably don't need 5G at the moment. The killer app that necessitates everyone to have 5G with a smartphone is not yet available. Okay, I think one of the things that 5G offers is the possibility to run virtual networks, or basically what they're saying is network slices, where they can I would say stream on certain basis, and that will provide, for example, set up a connection at a stadium that will provide a good streaming and connection there, away from the other network, so it does not congested the network. Way back in September, I was in Singapore, and I was at that time they were, I think, preparing for the Singapore Grand Prix. So of course they were promoting, because at that time Singapore has already, by July of this year, Singapore had already achieved about 90% coverage. So they were promoting how with the 5G, with the network slicing, they can able to give a better connection and streaming at that area around the Singapore Grand Prix. Okay, here is just basically some of the key features of the 5G. Basically, there are four, which is the first one is millimeter waves. You can see the example. This one was given by me by MCMC. On the left, the millimeter waves, which is basically suited for dense areas as they offer higher bandwidth. And of course, they offer higher spectrum to lighten load on crowded places, boosting speed and higher capacity. So in terms of crowded places like a concert or the Singapore Grand base stations. So basically, there are base stations, small base stations. I can't give an example here in KL. That although I think Huawei did mention there are a few examples in Cyberjaya where the Huawei office is located. So basically, in terms of that 5G, in terms of when you hear people saying upgrading the station or the site is basically putting up this small cell or miniature base stations to allow the smooth and better connection and speed. Now, of course, they have the MIMO, which basically maximum input and maximum output, high numbers of antennas to transmit and receive data simultaneously. So this is to allow multiple capacity of wireless connection without requiring additional spectrum. And then finally, it's beamforming, which is focus signal in a beam that focus only into direction of user, which is maximize signal energy. So this also would help also with which they say the slicing of network, focusing on a certain area and certain people to ensure better connectivity, streaming, and speed. Okay, so that was basically some of the basic history of 5G and why 5G is the benefits of 5G. So now I'll go here with the 5G availability. Basically on the top left hand, you can see some of the spots in that's available 5G, Australia, Malaysia, and of course in the southern region. In terms of China and Korea, when they introduced 5G about 3 years ago, the Korean and China mobile service revenue saw improvement, which is about 3 to 4%. Then the 5G services over there offer high value services, which 5G accounted for 31% of all connections of Korea, over which about 40% smartphone and for about 25% in China. Now, the growth of 5G, of course, was supported by rapid 5G coverage and wide range of phones that are 5G enabled at affordable prices. You probably get noticed in terms of if you go into the Digital Nasional Berhad website, they'll give you a list of some of the phones that are that is readily available to receive 5G. But I understand also from a certain industry player that the real efficient phones, good phones for you to allow to have a good 5G. It's not that yet. It's not that affordable yet. It's probably there, but it's not that affordable and probably not efficient. So it's still a long way. Here in Malaysia. In terms of China, they to promote their 5G, they aggressively price their 5G plan users to the point where users with 5G definitely from switching to 5G tariff plans, which if you notice, which some of our mobile operators are doing. And then, of course, some Korea use 5G as an opportunity to reintroduce unlimited data plans as the preferred pricing model. So if you look at some of the plans which our mobile operators are introducing, they are also following the same concept. Now, Korea, the price gap between 4G and 5G services was about $51 for Korea Telecom, while South Korea Telecom and LGU Plus has a gap of about 9 or 5 ringgit 9 or 5 US dollars for unlimited data. While Switzerland has a price gap of 72 US dollars, while the US has sort of gap of 18 US dollars when you between 4G and 5G services. I think Switzerland is much higher because so does the US. Well, I think so that's why that price gap was is quite huge when you compare to Korea itself. Now, there are also limited data plans which are available in other countries offering 5G with 1 gigabit data on 4G is about $4 and then high 4G. This is basically talking about some prepaid plans which some of these countries are offering. So this allows also consumers with less intensive data consumption to receive 5G at lower price. So basically you can receive your 5G at a lower price, but then of course you probably will have to buy much more data at the end of it if you are really a huge data user. So if you're not, then you're probably okay with some of these plans that probably that will be introduced by the mobile telcos in the immediate future. Now, here is just talking about the 5G ability in Singapore and Thailand. What's interesting is also in Thailand itself, although it covers 90% of the population. It's quite small actually. In some of these countries here, maybe at that rate, people switching from 4G to 5G services. Although, although the download speed in Singapore was at about 20, was much higher. 20% of mobile subscribers from Singtel and StarHub only started using 5G services as of July 22nd. So this is just to point that, probably, those people out there say, hey, I don't need 5G, and at the end of it, 4G is quite enough for me. Which is, I think, is quite surprising because, Singapore is quite dense. But again, I suppose it seems, that not many people are using for gaming or TikTok or streaming or other things that they are not switching to 5G. And so, of course, this also just to prove the point that the killer app that necessitates the individual consumer to use 5G is not there for your smartphones and all that. Of course, with this 5G, of course, there's quite a price war there with M1, Singapore's M1 offering a no contract 5G 80 gig plan at 18 Singapore dollar, with StarHub plans at 38 Singapore dollar for 70 gig data, while Singtel has about 70 gig at Singapore 45. Well, I think this is quite a bit expensive. I was just looking just now at what U-Mobile is offering. U-Mobile is offering about 100 GB for about 100 GB for about 98 ringgit. So that's about you go to if you convert it to Singapore currency, it's probably about 30 something. So so like U-Mobile's plans are much more attractive than the one that Singapore is having. But I'm not surprised about what U-Mobile is doing. U-Mobile, of course, is more catered for the lower market. So this is one of the good ways for them to attract people into their services. Basically this is about 4G. I think one of the good reasons here, recently that Ericsson reports 4G subscription grew 70 million subscribers to 4.9 billion. This is worldwide in first quarter 22, and then Oh, sorry, this is not worldwide. This is in Asia. Then subscribers expect to peak by 5 billion by end of 2022, then decline to 3.5. So because this is because 4G is still for some of the countries here in Asia, 4G they're yet to move into 5G. So 4G is the main network, as also in Malaysia. So that's why the Ericsson reporting that subscription because of 4G is still here. Ericsson's forecasting the rise in 4G to peak by 5 billion by the end of 22 and decline by 3.5 billion. And this decline is also because the movement as nations here in this region starts to deploy 5G, and everybody starts to switch from 4G to 5G. Here is basically to show you why 4G is still the main connector here, and why what's the story behind why the government is still building 4G towers and connecting 4G and all that. So basically way back in 2020 2018 when after the GE14, the then Pakatan government decided to have more wider coverage and more affordable internet broadband to the masses. So Jendela came in. So the government set up Jendela to oversee the wide coverage of 4G technology in Malaysia. This advancement into 4G also is also to help with the rollout of 5G, because as I explained in the earlier slides, 5G can still use 4G stations or towers and all that. In fact, they probably at the end of it upgraded those stations to fiberization or fiber in the premises, so that 4G and 5G services can still be used at those premises and those towers, or 4 or 5G services can still be used at those these towers. Basically, this is also to support to support the 5G rollout, or to support the connectivity in case there are some disruption or 5G in the future. All right. So basically, and here the government have been doing quite well. I mean, they have already about 7.54 million premises passed for fiber connectivity, and which against the target of about 7.5 million for phase 1, where phase 1 is supposed to, which started from is basically on a two-year duration from 2020 to the end of 2022. So you can see on the left hand corner of the slide, you can see the target of Jendela 1 to achieve median speed of 35 Mbps, to achieve 7.5 million premises passed, and to achieve coverage of about 97%. So by quarter 3, so some of these sub targets have almost been reached. In fact, in terms of mean speed, 50. Here the connectivity have reached about 54 Mbps. And of course, and about a 96% coverage, which is just only about 1% less than the Jendela target, the Jendela phase 1 target of 97%. Of course, you might suddenly maybe ask question, why? How come they still cannot get 97%, and of course, and 2022 is about to end. So the reason is basically because there are connectivity issues, especially in the rural areas. Of course, and this is also involving, I mean, they have to require to build new towers, new sites and all that. And of course, building at some of these areas also involves not that able for you setting up for this company to set up new towers for all this kind of connectivity. And also but I understand also, I mean, Huawei also have introduced a new technology where they have sort of a miniature base station or miniature tower that allows the connection between these remote areas and into the main tower. And of course, these small stations are much more cheaper to build and easier to build, and it's and basically it's more solar powered. But of course, in order to move to to override some of the connective issues, the government of course have gone into satellite connectivity, and so by the end of June 2022 has about 839 locations connected with satellite. So this allow network connection to some of these remote areas. I think most of this connection, I think one of the most, I mean, if you want to go and see some of this connection or a site, there is one, I think, in Perak and Orang Asli site where it's basically, I think this site is handled by Nexus, so it's connected by satellite. So this has allowed this network connection to this Orang Asli site way inside Perak. I'm not so sure, I can't remember which one, but it's there. I mean, if you want to look for something in here in the west coast of Malaysia. Okay, this one is just basically showing what's the 5G coverage here in Malaysia. I think this one is as of I think September, October. You can see basically on the west coast region of Malaysia, the more urban places of Penang, Perak, the Klang Valley, Malacca, and Singapore. So they did say, the DNB did say that they expect coverage of 5G will reach about 37% by 2022. And then, of course, recently they announced that they expect 70% coverage by 2023. This which is against their 80% coverage target of 2024. Initially, they did explain that they wanted 80% coverage by 2024, but 2 months ago, I think, before in September, they did say that coverage will be expedite to reach 70% population coverage by the end of 2023, which is, yeah, I suppose it's good for the telcos itself if they're promoting from 5G services, but I'll just go into explain later. So as you can see here, 5G deployment or rollout is still not really available, especially if you look at Indonesia, Myanmar, Cambodia, Vietnam. If you look, like in case of Brunei, they were expected to launch services in June, but so far nothing has come out. But they did have a 2-month trial way back in September. Then they did mention that official launching is expected to be earliest in 2023. Cambodia, the 5G rollout is still a way off, although they have about 10 mobile operators. Indonesia is beginning with limited launches, but according to a survey there, consumers are willing to pay more for 5G services. And the third, Indonesian has about 5G capable phone, because basically I think data there is a necessity for the Indonesian consumers. I'm not surprised it came in, since it's a huge country, wide country, communications is important. I know. Okay, the reason I'm just showing here or explaining some of these of the 5G rollout or yet to be 5G rollout in the Southeast Asia region, because if you because Malaysian companies, for example, like Edorco, a subsidiary of Axiata and OCK itself. They have operations here in Malaysia and in the region. If you guys not so sure, edotco and OCK are basically telco tower players. I mean, they build telco towers, and also in case of OCK, they manage telco towers. OCK manage about 45% of the Indonesian towers out there. They manage, and they don't own, but they manage in terms of maintenance and all that. Of course, both OCK and edotco have presence all over, and OCK recently has started a joint venture company with the Laotian Minister of Finance with the intention of rolling out 5G over there. So these are some of the benefits. I mean, some of the opportunities that these two companies, edotco and also OCK, can grab in the immediate term when this country starts to really roll out their 5G services. Okay, here I'm just showing you how, because of the rollout of 4G or the deployment of 4G or the coverage of 4G, which has already reached about 96%, has helped to improve mobile subscription. As you can see, okay, if you look at the black top line there, that is the total subscribers of Celcom and Digi. This is assuming that Celcom and Digi had merged before, way back in 2017. So you can see that the number of subscribers that this entity will have is certainly larger from the other telcos, especially Maxis. Beforehand, Maxis has the number of subscribers, but with the Celcom and Digi merger, this new entity will have the biggest number of subscribers. And of course, the red line represents some of the other smaller players like U-Mobile, Yes, and all the other MVNOs. This is a combination of their subscribers or market share. I think that has also helped one of the things that helped with this rising number of subscribers is again because of the expanded coverage, and of course because the MCMC has played a vital part in making sure that these telco operators, they offer good services and efficient services. I think, and of course, this is also the MCMC allows people to complain to them about some of the services, inefficient services of coverage some of these telcos had. So that's why it's important some of these telcos they were able to give better coverage and services with the expanded 4G coverage in the last 2 years. Overall network complaints declined by 66%. This is a complaint from the public to MCMC about the coverage or inefficiencies of the telcos. So they have declined tremendously to about 4K in the last 1 year. Basically, it's again because to show with the expanded coverage, telcos are better to give coverage, and of course with the scrutiny by MCMC, telcos are able to give better to streamline their operations, to make it more efficiency, and to give better coverage to the consumers out there. Okay. Now, okay, here is just basically to look at the postpaid trends of some of these companies. If you look again, the black line represent again the new entities. I'll just call it now Celcom Digi. If they had been merged way back in 2017, how strong or big their market share is. And of course, down there on the bottom chart, you can see ARPU has been coming down. So it's basically saying here, with you know, the telcos, with the better connection, that the telcos are able to give better, not better services, but more wider services, in able to bundle their services, meaning you know, maybe 50 gig data with which we add, or 50 ringgit, so they bundled up this up, which is to suit some of those people in the outlying regions, or in those areas where you know, where they are not able to, you know, to purchase much more higher plans because of economic factors. So despite, you know, ARPU coming down, the subscribers has really gone up, and of course the subscription did not falter during the pandemic phase, of course, because this communication was such a vital part during the lockdowns of the last 2 years. Okay, this one is the prepaid market share. So the red line again is showing the other smaller players, where their prepaid market share is way above the big players of you know, Celcom, Maxis, and Digi. Of course, because these players are offering better pricing, or better in terms of, or competitive pricing, in order to gain market share. But of course, with the advent, with the coming of the you know, Celcom Digi, and this, it's more likely that Celcom Digi will have much more market share in the prepaid market itself. I think one of the things that helps with Celcom and Digi also, because beforehand, before the pandemic, Celcom Digi also depend a lot of foreign workers. A lot of foreign workers subscribe to their services. So with the with the gradual recovery of the economy, foreign workers coming back, so this is where Celcom and Digi hope that, you know, they will able to attain a better a better market share than the other operators like Maxis or the other smaller operators. And of course, both Celcom and Digi probably will do have the bigger coverage and all that, and better economies of scale compared to the other small operators. Here again, I'm just showing you the prepaid market share and postpaid market share. Again, the black line is, of course, the Celcom Digi, and and here is, so both, you can see postpaid and prepaid is mostly coming. The new entity Celcom Digi will be the main player in the coming years. All right, here is just to show some of my valuation and my call for Digi. So at the moment, I have a call of about 421 for Digi, and an outperform call. Basically, it's because of their merger with Celcom, that will make them the biggest player in the mobile space here in Malaysia. And you can see here the performance, what they have been doing in terms of their prepaid mobile and postpaid mobile subscribers, all have been going strong. And of course, their ARPU is quite competitive, almost similar to the other smaller players. And because of that, that's why they're able to have such a robust or resilient mobile subscribers in the last few quarters. Here is Maxis. Maxis also showing the same trend like Digi. Of course, the Maxis ARPU is not that as competitive compared to Celcom and Digi, but still, I think Maxis, the key market is, of course, their postpaid subscribers, or the urban subscribers, I will call it. And if you and for general knowledge, Maxis is much more strong in terms of the urban market, or the business people, or the expats, and all that. Time is basically to a broadband service provider, but not for telecom. Telecom is quite less because this compared to Celcom, Digi or Maxis, because this is telecom, these subscribers are basically mostly from the home broadband. But telecom, they are the market leader in home broadband, and they I think they have about more than 70% of the home broadband market share. So way above way above the players like Maxis or Time itself. I think and I think going forward also, Telecom will still have their strong market share ahead. I think Telecom will ride on the positive tailwinds on the digital space as economies reopens and gradual in wholesale and enterprise spending as the economies recover. Wanting to know also, Telecom has completed its nationwide fiber network expansion of 6 million premises, which is under the General Initiative, which will of course accelerate or promote its 5G services. I think one of the reasons, I think recently, a few months ago, in order for me to, I wanted to test what's the difference between Telecom and Maxis, because during the pandemic, I find that Maxis services wasn't that good. This is from my experience, so I decided to switch from Maxis to Telecom, just because they'll be talking about their because they have completed their expansion of 6 million, and of course because they were they were accelerating their 5G services because they are into the 5G DNB DNB 5G rollout. So I think that's one of the reasons I think I wanted to see how Telecom is doing the switch from Maxis and Telecom. But no, so far I think it's still not there, the services. I think this is mostly because, again, as I said, also the coverage has been about 37%, but it's not that in pockets of areas that it's able. And of course, I think one industry player did tell me that in the last few months, when other telco operators are talking about 5G, basically those 5G that they offer is basically the trial ones that's been offered by DNB. The full commercial one is not yet available or started to up. I think the one even now when they have offered 5G, I understand from some industry players, it's still not fully out yet. This is still only it's only the starting point. So your 5G might not be resilient or stable as you might have hoped. So it will take time. $45 to 50%. Basically because I think OCK is, of course, it's one of the listed telco infra. EDOTCO is not listed, OCK is. And of course, OCK is already involved in 4G and 5G. And of course, they're taking opportunities in the telco infra in this region. Vietnam, Myanmar, and of course now recently when they're going into Laos. And then one of the good thing about OCK, of course, it's 63% is revenue being recurring, coming from telco tower maintenance, which is mostly in Indonesia, and telco tower leasing, which is all over the region: Malaysia, Vietnam, Myanmar. Okay, so that is my presentation, many of my presentation, and I think I'll leave it to Shane for any questions. I suppose at the hub there'll be some questions about the current news about DNB and all that. So I'll just help you to explain or to clarify how I see it going forward.
All right, thank you so much, Ramzani, for your wonderful presentation on the telco sector. So if you have any questions to ask our speaker today, you may write your questions at the Q&A box. Don't write that in the chat box, yeah? Write them in the Q&A box so we can easily manage the Q&A. Now, we already have so many questions here.
Okay.
Okay, now we know that the rollout of 5G is via the single wholesale network by Digital Nasional Berhad. And what is your view on this? Do you think a single wholesale network is good? Because I think the government literally, does away with the competition, and it now has installed a monopoly status in the distribution of 5G. So what do you think about that?
Well, I think this question, I mean, if you asked me beforehand, probably early this year, yes, I probably would say it's not good. But since it is already here, and of course, tender and works in terms of building the 5G infrastructure has already been done by DNB. So I don't think we have anything else, has to complain about. I think because telcos itself, they already have come up with their plans about this, because they are, they're forced to accept this 5G, this single wholesale network, and already have their plans in the coming future, especially in terms of capex. One thing that's good about this under this DNB, of course, the telcos do say and expect that their capex in the coming years will taper down because they don't have to build the infrastructure for 5G. The infrastructure for 4G has already been almost completed. So in the end, in the long run, it's good for the telcos as long as the people start to switch to 5G, especially services of 5G towards the enterprise, and of course when the nation goes to IR 4.0. I think this is the main point. I think why people are more into 5G, because hoping to to accelerate the nation economy into digital, and also to follow the footsteps of countries like Singapore and Korea, who are into IR 4 Industrial Revolution 4.0 or IR 4.0.
Okay, thank you so much for the clarification. Now we know that not all telcos take out a stake in the DNB. So the question here is, what happened to the telcos who don't take up stakes in the DNB? Will they be able to buy the 5G spectrum from DNB?
Okay. Yes, they will be able to buy, because in the DNB terms of agreement, which they introduced way back in the first quarter of this year, it did state that DNB will offer this access, this access 5G or the 5G spectrum, or the 5G lease to the telcos at no discriminatory, and they will offer it to everyone at no discriminatory prices and all that. So it's already written in that agreement. So DNB, whatever for reason those companies do not want the stake in the DNB itself, will be able to purchase those 5G access, I call it 5G access for themselves. I think, yes, I think some of the there's no benefit there, except that DNB wanted this telcos to come into that agreement to show their their future bondholders that they have companies that are into their single wholesale network, and companies that are going to buy their single wholesale, their 5G list. So to purchase their 5G list, and this of course they will help, in terms of DNB's debt fundraising exercise into the bond market. They probably and help for them to attain a better credit rating in the long run. So basically, that's the whole thing.
Okay, so you mean that they don't have to buy a stake to be able to buy the 5G spectrum?
No, they don't have under that.
And everyone,
under that agreement, they don't.
At the same price.
Yes.
Okay? Whether you have a stake or not, you'll be offered the same price to buy the spectrum from the DNB.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I think Maxis, of course, I stand to be corrected. I think Maxis is delegating the decisions to buy the stake or not to the shareholders, right?
No. What that Maxis is doing, that they are going to the shareholders to agree to. They already agreed to buy from DNB, but apparently because of some, I understand because of auditing and accounting, they need to approval, because I understand recently that I think one of the advisors saying that they can't audit this, or they can't unless there is shareholders approval before the Maxis can sign the agreement to purchase the 5G from DNB.
Okay, so should we be concerned that since it's a single wholesale network, so should we be concerned that there will be any network failure, or since there's only one provider, and would consumers like us get substandard service if there's no competition?
Okay, that's a good question. I think that is why I mentioned before why this 4G development or 4G coverage or 4G deployment it's very important to JENDELA or to the telcos, because 4G is supposed to be a fallback in case there is some disruption in 5G when it's being rolled out and all that. So 4G was supposed to help in that. So that's why the government or JENDELA is it's trying its best to fiberize the base stations or upgrade the base stations so that it can have 4G and 5G services, can provide 4G and 5G services. So if anything wrong with 5G, they can buy 4G, and also to give much more coverage towards the entire population here in Malaysia, so that they can at least enjoy the coverage of 4G, the network connectivity before. And then probably at the end of it, they say, "Hey, okay, I think we are not, I want to better services, so I think probably I switch to 5G." So probably that is the way ahead and all that. As I said before, people like you and me, we don't need 5G. I mean, the one that really needs are those enterprise, those who are going to introduce the smart things, the Internet of Things, the automatic taxis, the smart hospitals, and all that. Those are the really will necessitate the use of 5G to make it more efficient and autonomous. People like you and me, well, basically we don't need 4G. Is good enough for us to stream, to watch video, to watch TikTok, or to play game and all that. But of course, some people probably will want better speed, really 100% connection, no disruption, and then they get the option to choose 5G.
Okay, so we don't really have to upgrade to a 5G phone.
No, I mean, this is what from my understanding from when I was talking to MCMC and Huawei. I say, yeah, the killer app that necessitates the consumer to use. I mean, if you look at my slides, initially, the reason 4G was able, to really expand was because the rise of because of 4G, the rise saw the rise of YouTube video streaming and TikTok and everything. So the killer app that really necessitated everyone to have 5G is not there. 4G was enough for that, those kind of things. And I think also, I think I just want to give another an extra added about this 4G and 5G. I think it's already been developed, except the regulatory bodies. I mean, the global one. I think I can't remember. It's called 3GPP, or the International Telecommunication Union, which Malaysia is part of it. They're talking about, the 6G has been developed. Huawei did say to me, 6G is here already. Except, of course, the ITU or this will have to standardize or define what is 6G, what's the difference between 5G and to make 6G different from 5G. So they're working on that. But overall, basically, 6G is here. I think yesterday, Fahmi Fazil, the new minister for multimedia and communication, did explain that whatever happens, whatever the government trying to do with DNB, trying to look at it, how it's been rolling out, they did say that they want to expedite 5G as soon as possible, because 6G probably in a recent investor day by one of these companies, Edoko did say that they are fully prepared for 5G and 6G deployment within the next 5 years. So it led me believe that, probably 6G will be introduced quite soon, probably in the second half of this decade. I mean, if you look at history also, those 2G, 3G or 4G have been introduced every 10 years. So people are actually expecting by probably 2030, but the way Edoko was saying that it's probably in the second earlier than that. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah, so it looks like China is winning the telco race.
Yes, China is winning. I mean, China is amused. I mean, when I asked this question to Huawei, why didn't the government give to Huawei to expedite the 5G rollout here instead of Ericsson? Then, of course, the issue between US and China of security reason. I think that's why the government chose Ericsson instead of 5G. I'm not so sure, but this is probably my own personal view after talking to those people in Huawei. And I think I'm just going to give you an example here in Singapore itself, because of security reason. In Singapore, it's only 5G standalone. They do not share with like the one in Malaysia, where the towers can share 4G and 5G. Again, this is because of security reasons. So those telco towers in Singapore, 5G towers are basically standalone, not the combination of 4G and 5G that we have here in Malaysia.
Okay, thanks for the clarification, Ramzani. We know that the Industry 4.0 require 5G to take off. So what is the specific application for 6G technology that China is developing?
Oh, okay, 6G. Okay, that one.
How do you see world change after 6G?
I'm not sure about that. Except all I know from Huawei, they say they're trying to come up with the definition or the specific of it to make it different from 5G. I don't know, maybe faster, or maybe faster than 5G. I'm not so sure. I don't think anybody has released what is that kind, what the difference between 6G and 5G. But basically, I think since probably 5G and 6G share the same thing, so probably you don't have to much build new towers. You probably just have to upgrade your towers in order to have.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ramzani. Now we know that one of the biggest news in the telco industry is the merger between Celcom and Axiata and Digi. So, what is your view on this? Do you think that this will help both companies? And what is the aftermath of this merger? Will they maintain two listed entities, or it will be a merged entity?
Oh, okay. It will be a merged entity. I think they did announce, or is it the Securities Commission did announce that these two companies, these two merged entities will have a grace period of 2 years before adopt the real, the name or the name or the color or the brand that will be used, depending on which one is much more popular. So you might see it will probably still be called Digi with the with Digi colors, or which is yellow, or it could be Celcom. They probably call it Celcom, or not Celcom Axiata, but Celcom itself, with maintaining their Celcom colors. Again, it depends in the next 2 years which one the public prefers, or the brand which it's or the services that the public. This entity is now the market leader. I think Maxis, they have wider. I think they have much more wider subscribers out there so making it the biggest market share in terms of prepaid, which they have, of course. Now they have the biggest market share, and I think with their kind of pricing right now, they offer that they're able to challenge the other smaller players. They already have been able to challenge Axis itself in terms of mobile subscribers, which I think override it. I think Maxis probably will have to focus on 5G services to the enterprises and all that. So it's not surprising if you Maxis have been talking about how they have formed an ecosystem with about 25 enterprises. Basically, this is to show what are the benefits of 5G to some enterprises, so that at the end of it, the enterprises will sign up on a long-term contract with Maxis. I think this is what Maxis intends and to play. I mean, in order for them to combat this new entity, this huge new entity of Celcom and Digi.
All right, thanks for your input. Yeah, I wonder if the new entity will use or adopt the green color. That's what I learned from science class. All right, okay. Now, the next question is by Jason. So in terms of return on equity, which is a better, infrastructure builders or network providers?
Finally.
Sorry, do you hear my question?
No. Was it the question?
The question is, in terms of return on equity, which is a better, infrastructure builders or network providers?
In terms of return of equity, will be network providers. Yeah, not the other one. What do you say?
Infrastructure builders.
No, it's
network providers.
So
network providers usually deliver higher ROE.
Yes, because telco, telco infra, depends on it depends on the contract that they have and all that. So they probably will have to build or to move into new markets and all that. And of course, it's not considered stable. I mean, if you look at the example of history of EDOTCO, they've always been talking about trying to become the top 5 global player, but still after 2-3 years, they're still at number 6. They're still able to move into the top 5. The reason because other players are building more and more, have more contracts and building more and more towers, so all that. But in terms of OCK, I mean, they do have a strong recurring income coming from their managed services and all that. So it's this recurring income helps to give a good sizable return, lacking tower lease business. And of course, the mobile players, of course, they are, as the economies grow, population grow, those revenue will be coming in. And of course, as you can see in the last 2 years, despite the pandemic, despite the recession, telecommunication, mobile communication is still in demand. I mean, if you look at Sri Lanka, some countries in Sri Lanka, who is of course suffering quite a recession now, despite all that, mobile subscription has been growing, increasing their price, mobile subscriptions still grow. So no doubt it's mobile subscribers, mobile operators are the one giving better returns because it's recurring, it's stable, and it's growing.
Okay, now OCK is already in a Kenanga overweight since March 2022. The question here is, do you think that the TP will be hit in a short time?
The TP will be hit in a short time?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
That's a question by Zahari.
Oh, you mean can go up there? Well, in all fairness, okay. I think I get this question why I have this huge price for OCK and 5 cents when most analysts are about 40 to 50 cents. Okay. Way back in June, I was using DCF like the others, and my price was about 45 cents and all that. But of course, DCF it goes on much more longer term, 10-year period. While compared with the current valuation which I use now, which is EV EBITDA, which is 1 year forward. The DCF method talk about recurring earnings, stable earnings in the next 10 years. It does not give a value in case if OCK suddenly has a huge contract for tower infra, which this year they have because the pandemic is over and they got the contract to build and lease towers all over the region. So if I have been using the DCF method, then it's probably because I'm just looking on a consistent, stable and all that. It does not capture the right valuation. But EV EBITDA, because I add in the contracts that's coming in for next year that they will crystallize for next year, and I'm using a EV EBITDA forward times of about 7 times, which is less than what EDOCO is, which I give. It's 7 because OCK is a smaller player than EDOCO, so that's why I give that 95 cents. So that, in my view, yes, that's the right kind of valuation. Because it takes off all the tower contracts that they have. But of course, in 2024, if their tower contracts start to come down, then probably the price will the valuation will come down. So basically what I did was I changed it to EBITDA just to get that reflection of what is really worth it, taking into account of the contracts that's been coming in, which OCK has received. Now, one thing about OCK, I think they don't want to contracts the of the Ahmad and all that. Basically because they don't want to people to just to bump up the price and all that, and of course suddenly the next year it will probably go down, which will really happen if everybody starts to use this EV EBITDA method and all that. So I think that's the reason why I have that plan. Whether it's gonna go and all that, well, I think it depends on how people see either people change their valuation or people see whether the earnings or the contract that they receive will be consistent in the next 5 or 10 years if these analysts are still using the DCF method. So that's I can't say and all that, whether it's going to go up like that. I can't say that. I'm just.
All right, thanks, Ramzani, for your perspective. The next question is by Rahaja. Do you think Elon Musk's Starlink satellite will be competitor to telco's 5G business? Ramzani, do you hear my question?
Oh, sorry. No, I think again, unstable connection.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I have to complain to TM like this. How can I promote?
Yeah, it's time for TM to upgrade to 5G.
Yeah. We really quickly expedite this 5G rollout. Quick cover here quickly.
Okay, the next question is by Rahaja. Do you think Elon Musk's Starlink's satellite will be a competitor to telco's 5G business?
Oh, okay. I can't say that because I've not really gone into study or compare and all that. So I
okay, no worries.
Yeah.
The next question is by Lau. Just now you showed us about China and South Korea. So the question here is, what was the reason that the mobile service revenue growth was in the negative region in between 2018 and 2019?
Oh, because I think again because of saturation, like here in Malaysia also saturation. People don't see much because the growth was just being pricing was still just being stable, so that's why the growth had come down. But with the introduction of 5G, so there was new pricing given because probably because much more data and all that, so the telcos were able to give at a better price, so that helps. And of course, people switching to those 5G plans, although they give a better price, but probably unlimited and better speed and all that. So that's why the revenue started to go up.
All right. The next question is by Maslan Yusof. Can you explain why is Malaysians' mobile network bad? Now, previously, you can talk via mobile phone using mobile network. Now the network is really bad and it goes across all networks. Speaking over WhatsApp is even better when Wi-Fi is available. So that is his remark. Any feedback to this?
Oh, okay. Well, I can't say much more about the technical, but I think from a layman's point of view, is the bad is of course, because they were inefficient before. Much of the earnings were spent on building some infrastructure or 4G infrastructure before, or other infrastructure, and they were not much into operational efficiency. But I think most of these telcos now, they have really upgrade their efficiency, their cost, their building better operations. And of course, as you can see from my slides, some of these, most of the, to upgrade their stations, introduce fiberization, to introduce more coverage so that the connectivity it's better and all that. And of course, MCMC also has introduced a complaint feedback from the consumer, so that anything falls short, then this MCMC will reprimand the telcos. I think one of the case recently, I think it was back in June, where I think MCMC publicly announced that the telco operators that was in Langkawi, Digi, Celcom, and Maxis was not giving good service and all that. So this helped the telcos to respond quickly to improve their operation, so that I think MCMC did give a timeline for them to improve, and the telcos did quickly accelerate their efficiency to improve operations over there. I mean, that's only I can say it. basically.
All right. The next question is by KY Tan. With regards to the EMF increased radiation, was there any studies made as to any detrimental health effects that may occur once the 5G is launched?
Oh, okay. I'm not so sure about the EMF radiation about that, so I'm not much information. But I think there is a study which shows, well, in terms of energy saving, it's much better and efficient in the long run from 5G. In terms of radiation, I'm not sure. I've not really come across. Come across to answer that. Give a view of that.
All right. Alex has a question about the TP of Celcom Digi. So he said that the TP of 4 ringgit 91 cent for Celcom Digi appears grossly undervalued, considering the net asset value, the EPS, and the synergy, etc., of the merged entity. So what is your rationale for the TP, and is it a very attractive buy now?
Oh, okay. So the rationale is, of course, because okay, again, as I explained earlier for FCK, I use a 1 year forward EV/EBITDA. So the valuation is mostly looking at their EBITDA value at the end of it. And of course, I use the much more conservative EV/EBITDA of about 10 times, which is lower before in the pre-pandemic days when it was the likes of EV multiples of about 12 to 13 times, but I give 10 times. Basically 10 times because yes, 5G has a really big price and all that, but of course there are some other costs involved, especially the spectrum cost. So it's much more fair to give 10 times EV/EBITDA. So that's why it came up to 421. And of course, the lower also is also because Digi have to surrender about 2.5 billion to Axiata because of this merger. So that pulls down the valuation to 421.
All right. Thank you so much for your perspective. So what do you think about Timecom?
Timecom? You mean Time Telecom? Time.com?
Time.com. Do you cover this stock?
No, I don't cover in stock.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I think people. Yeah, I think I have this question about this Time.com. How I think and all that. Okay, of course, if you notice also, Time.com did not itself the spectrum and all that, which because they don't need, because Time.com focuses on apartments and all that, so they build their towers on top of the apartments. So, and with the 4G services, which they and of course they use TM fiber network, all that. So with all the services, they are able, with this 4G and build and having it at apartments and all that, they're able to to give a better services, better speed at a better price compared to the other telco players and all that. And of course, Time.com is not involved in upgrading fiber network expansion or infrastructure spending and all that. All they need is just to build towers that you can on top of apartment or on top of a commercial building, or that for them to offer their services, and this helps to reduce their costs, and that's why Time.com can be able to give efficiency in the operations and at a better pricing.
Okay, so does that mean that Time.com will not be able to provide 5G?
Not probably not able to provide, but I don't think they see the necessary to get 5G and all that, because as I said, 4G is at the moment are suddenly, going, the average consumer going into virtual reality, virtual communication and all that, but we are not there yet. So probably they don't see us in the need for 5G at the moment. 4G is enough for streaming, for internet connection. So I think that's how they see it at the moment.
All right. I saw a very interesting question by Ting Yu Tong, but I'm not sure whether you are knowledgeable in this area.
Okay.
But I'm going to ask it anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Okay. Now, given this scenario, if an autonomous driving vehicle got into a collision and that is caused by a failure of 5G because it suddenly disconnects and it automatically falls back to 4G.
Yeah.
So will the company be liable to legal claims for the damages?
Was able to, well, I don't know, but that thing, I think that's the legal entity to sort it out. I think this came up because of there was a recent video about this autonomous vehicle that clears all over the place and end up and all that. I think that's a good question, but I think that's how it depends on how where you can ask the legal entity.
Yeah, for autonomous vehicle to function smoothly, right? Definitely need a full coverage or almost near or near full coverage for the 5G network, so that the autonomous vehicle can run smoothly.
Yeah. So I suppose so that's why you need to really give good 5G and consistent service. So I think that's why enterprise get into it. They've got to understand the whole picture and all that. This is the reason why Max is building that 5G ecosystem alliance, basically an ecosystem for enterprise to use it, to test it, what can be used, how they and probably look at it and how the legal point of view at the end of it, if any accident or incident happen in automated operations.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, Ramzani, for sharing with us the telecommunication sector outlook for this CanTrade webinar. I want to thank you for your time. So it looks like our time has run out. So we shall conclude our question and answer session. All right. So let me take over the screen sharing. Okay. By now, you should be looking at my screen. So for those of you who haven't had a CanTrade account, you may fill up this online account opening form I've just given you in the chat group. So you may click on the form and fill in your interest and to open an online trading account. So if you haven't joined the Kenanga Trade to Win Telegram channel, you can click the link that I've just given you to join the Telegram channel. All right. So if you want to open an account, just click on the link that I've just given you. And thank you everybody for tuning into this CanTrade webinar. And for your information, this is the last CanTrade webinar for 2022. But don't worry, Kenanga will be here with you next year. So in January, we will roll out our new webinar series and we'll invite you for the next CanTrade webinar. So with that, thank you everybody for tuning in to this session. Hope that you have gained enormous value from this session so that you know how the telco works, where are the trends, where are the opportunities, and what are the challenges ahead for the telco sector. So have a great rest of the day, guys. So thank you, Ramzani, for doing this session for us. Bye, everybody.